Hold on to your hats, Heartland enthusiasts. Season 19 delivered a stunning development that nobody anticipated. Borden is back alive and seemingly well. This leaves us reeling with questions about his prolonged absence and sudden return. How does Amy process this overwhelming reunion? What transpired during those missing years, and what prompted his return now? Let's delve into arguably the most shocking and emotionally charged moment in Heartland's long history. For many seasons, Ty was an integral part of the show. His deep connection with Amy Fleming formed one of the central pillars that captivated viewers. Ty wasn't just Amy's love interest, he was her steadfast partner and a father figure to their daughter, Lindy. His death in an earlier season was a profoundly sorrowful event, creating a lasting void in Amy's life. We watched her navigate the depths of grief and the immense challenge of forging a path forward without him. The emotional shockwaves of his passing resonated with fans worldwide. The subsequent storyline depicting Amy's journey of rebuilding her life without Ty became one of the most touching and significant arcs of the entire series. Yet, in the premiere episode of season 19, the impossible unfolds. Ty returns. The instant he materializes on Heartland's doorstep is utterly staggering, leaving both Amy and the audience stunned. It immediately begs the question, how is this possible? Ty had been presumed dead for several seasons. Fans had come to terms with the finality of his story and had witnessed Amy's painful attempts to find her footing without him. His reappearance after such a significant passage of time is a twist that defies all expectation. Ty's return forms the emotional core of this episode, fundamentally shifting the narrative's dynamics. His unexpected arrival throws Amy's processed grief into disarray, unleashing an emotional tempest. She must confront a reality she never imagined. The man she mourned, husband she accepted is gone, is standing before her, breathing and real. As Amy grapples with the immense shock of seeing her husband alive, she's likely flooded with a confusing mix of joy, disbelief, anger, and utter bewilderment. Ty's return signifies more than a mere plot device. It represents a moment of profound reckoning for Amy, who dedicated years to moving on without him. She raised their child, maintained her work at Heartland, and painstakingly healed from the agony of his loss. Now, faced with his presence, Amy confronts the staggering task of understanding how Ty could have survived and, crucially, why he remained absent for so long. The emotional gravity of this reunion is immense. Viewers can sense the difficulty for Amy in reconciling her enduring love for him with the undeniable reality of the time that has elapsed and the independent life she painstakingly constructed in his absence. In essence, Ty Borden's return in season 19, episode 1, is the pivotal moment that redefines everything. It potentially brings closure to a narrative arc many thought permanently concluded, while simultaneously opening a Pandora's box of new questions and possibilities for the future. His reappearance is a game-changing event within the Heartland universe, setting the stage for fresh emotional journeys, unforeseen challenges, and significant growth for the characters, especially Amy, as they attempt to comprehend what this unexpected new chapter in their lives signifies. This stunning twist generates enormous anticipation for the subsequent events, leaving characters and fans alike desperate for answers to the myriad questions surrounding Ty's return. How did he survive? These are but a few of the mysteries poised to unravel in the episodes to come, marking season 19 as a truly landmark chapter in the Heartland saga. Ty Borden was a cornerstone of Heartland for numerous seasons, and his death stood as one of the most poignant and heartrending events in the series' history. For years, viewers observed Amy Fleming, Ty's wife, navigating the profound sorrow of losing her partner and the father of her daughter, Lindy. His passing marked a crucial turning point for the show. Ty's tragic journey, as understood by both the characters and the audience, had reached its conclusion. In the seasons that followed, his absence heavily influenced the plot, particularly Amy's personal development as she learned to manage life without him. Season 14 depicted Ty being fatally shot while trying to rescue a wild horse. The incident was shocking and deeply traumatic for everyone connected to him. The narrative surrounding Ty's death wasn't merely about the loss of a character. It centered on the immense emotional toll it exacted on his family, most significantly Amy. She endured a raw and intense period of grieving. Viewers witnessed her struggle to reconcile the loss with the necessity of continuing her life. Ty's death profoundly disrupted the storyline, a loss mourned by fans as deeply as by the characters themselves. For Amy, the experience was isolating and incredibly challenging. Her personal and professional life had been deeply intertwined with Ty's, built through their collaboration running the Heartland Ranch. Their love story was fundamental to the series, and Ty's death represented a major emotional shift. Following his passing, Amy had to discover ways to persevere. She raised Lindy as a single mother while continuing her vital role at Heartland. Throughout this time, Amy demonstrated remarkable strength and resilience, even as the ache of his absence lingered. The subsequent seasons focused on Amy's journey through healing, acceptance, and rediscovering her purpose without the man who had been her anchor. The rest of the family, including Jack and Lou, also grappled with Ty's absence. It affected the daily operations of the ranch and brought forth concerns about the family's future and the fate of Heartland itself. Amy eventually explored new relationships, attempting to balance her enduring love for Ty with the demands of her evolving life. Her story became one of grief and recovery, but also of healing, transformation, and the inexorable passage of time. For the audience, watching Amy continue to grow and adapt without Ty was part of what maintained the show's emotional resonance. It offered a powerful and relatable depiction of rebuilding one's life after experiencing a devastating loss. However, Amy's thoughts were never truly far from Ty's memory. As she moved forward, his absence remained a constant echo throughout the series. Amy frequently reflected on how different life might have been had he survived. The emotional scars, though healing, never completely closed. Amy's path was irrevocably altered by Ty's death, and the pain of that loss never fully dissipated. The way the show handled his absence in the following seasons reinforced the sense of finality. His death had been presented as definitive and irreversible, with no indication of a possible return. The narrative shifted to reflect the acceptance, both by characters and viewers, that Ty was gone. Learning to live without him, accepting that the love of her life was no longer physically present, framed Amy's healing and growth. It is within this deeply established emotional and narrative framework that Ty's abrupt return in Heartland Season 19, Episode 1, carries such profound weight. After years spent mourning and believing him lost forever, Amy and the fans are confronted with the staggering reality that Ty is alive. This revelation shocks not only Amy, but also the viewers who had accepted the permanence of his character's death. Ty's return immediately triggers a cascade of questions about what occurred during the years he was presumed dead. 3. How did he survive? Why did he initially leave? What exactly occupied his time during this extended period? The tension and intrigue in the season 19 premiere are fueled by these pressing questions and the sheer emotional impact of Ty's reappearance. This twist challenges everything the audience thought they knew about Ty's storyline, introducing new layers of complexity to the character relationships, especially Amy's, as they struggle to process his return. The established belief that Ty Borden's journey concluded tragically was fundamental to the show's narrative, deeply affecting both characters and viewers emotionally. His death was a defining event in Heartland's history, shaping the show's direction for several seasons. With his return in season 19, the series takes a daring and unforeseen turn, unlocking numerous new possibilities and emotional trajectories for the characters to navigate. Within Heartland, the bond between Amy Fleming and Ty Borden served as a central emotional anchor. For many years, viewers were invested in their love story, founded on mutual support, trust, and a shared passion for the land and animals integral to Heartland. When Ty died in season 14, it marked a catastrophic turning point for Amy and the show itself. Amy's subsequent grief was intensely portrayed, and her struggle to move forward without him became a dominant theme in the seasons that followed. Therefore, Ty's return in season 19, episode 1, creates an incredibly complex and emotionally charged situation for Amy. She is compelled to process a reality almost too difficult to accept. A whirlwind of emotions likely engulfs Amy upon seeing Ty. Initial shock and disbelief are almost certain. After years dedicated to mourning Ty's death and learning to navigate life without him, the concept of his return is nearly unfathomable. Amy invested immense emotional energy into grieving, coping, and accepting that Ty was gone. The revelation that he might have been alive all this time without her knowledge is not just a devastating emotional jolt, but a profound disruption to everything she has endured. It's as if the world Amy painstakingly reconstructed, a world where Ty was no longer present, abruptly disintegrates, leaving her facing an entirely new, disorienting reality. Amy's immediate reaction to seeing Ty is likely a tangled mix of conflicting feelings. Joy is present because Ty's return offers the possibility of rekindling the life and love they once shared. Amy undoubtedly longed for Ty, and the thought of him being alive again would naturally evoke a deep sense of happiness. However, this joy is inevitably intertwined with confusion, resentment, and perhaps even a sense of betrayal. Amy has lived with the profound pain of Ty's death for so long, and his sudden reappearance raises questions that lack immediate answers. Why did he stay away? Why didn't he return sooner? Why was she left to navigate the world alone, without explanation? Amy would surely be torn between these burning questions and the overwhelming flood of emotions accompanying the sight of Ty once more. Ty's return isn't just about a potential reunion. It forces Amy to confront unresolved aspects of their shared past in her life since his departure. She had constructed a life without him, one she had gradually learned to accept. She developed new coping mechanisms, balancing her responsibilities at Heartland with raising their daughter, Lindy. Amy was compelled to evolve, and processing her partner's death was an integral part of that transformation. She had to learn to parent alone, manage the ranch, and mend her own fractured heart. Seeing Ty again challenges the very foundation of the life she worked so hard to build and accept. She is forced to reevaluate everything she believed about her past and her future, as if a chapter she thought firmly closed has suddenly been flung open again. For Amy, Ty's return is also a direct confrontation with the grief that had become a constant shadow in her life since his death. She had learned to coexist with the pain of his loss, but the realization that he might have been alive all along potentially magnifies that pain. This could feel like a betrayal, particularly given that Ty did not return sooner, leaving her to grapple with his supposed death and isolation. Amy might question the authenticity of Ty's return or wonder if there are hidden reasons for his disappearance she doesn't yet comprehend. The sudden reappearance of someone presumed dead for such an extended period would naturally leave her uncertain about how to navigate this unexpected new phase of their lives. The emotional weight of Amy's reaction is further amplified by her role as a mother. Ty's absence meant Amy had to face the challenges of single parenthood, raising Lindy without him. While Amy found strength in motherhood, Ty's return compels her to reassess what it means to co-parent and share the responsibility for their daughter once again. Lindy, having grown up largely without Ty, would also need to adjust to this abrupt change in her life. Amy's reaction would inevitably reflect not just her personal feelings, but also the impact on the family unit as a whole. Furthermore, Amy's response to Ty's return would be influenced by the partnership they shared beyond their marriage. Amy lost Ty not only as a husband, but also as a collaborator in their shared work at Heartland. They had built something significant together, both a family and a legacy tied to the ranch. Now, Amy must process how that foundation has been irrevocably altered by Ty's absence and subsequent return. The strong bond they formed over the ranch and its animals, a connection Amy carried during his absence, is now confronted with the reality of a partnership that may have changed in ways difficult to navigate. Another crucial aspect linked to Amy's reaction is her personal evolution over the intervening years. She has grown significantly as an individual, learning to embrace her independence, manage profound grief, and chart her own course for the future. She underwent substantial personal growth, and Ty's return forces her to question how she now views herself. How does she integrate him back into a future she had envisioned differently? Does his return necessitate relinquishing parts of the life and identity she forged without him? Ty's reappearance compels Amy to reconsider who she has become and what she truly desires moving forward. The equilibrium she painstakingly achieved is potentially threatened by the unexpected return of the man she once loved. Additionally, Ty's return introduces practical concerns regarding their reintegration into each other's lives. Amy will need to navigate the complexities of their relationship now that they are reunited, while simultaneously processing the emotional fallout from the years spent apart. The initial steps toward reconnecting will inevitably involve difficult conversations, mutual healing, and adjusting to the changes each has undergone. While they undoubtedly built a life together previously, reintegration might not be as simple as picking up where they left off. After everything that has transpired during their separation, Amy and Ty will need to reestablish trust and find mutual understanding. In conclusion, Amy's reaction to Ty's return is undoubtedly an emotionally complex and turbulent journey. Alongside feelings of joy and relief, she will grapple with waves of confusion, anger, and betrayal upon seeing the man she loved alive once more. Amy spent years learning to live without Ty, and his return forces her to confront emotions she likely thought were resolved. She must navigate the intricacies of their relationship, their shared past, and the potential future they might build together again, making her emotional response deeply layered and multifaceted as she comes to terms with the shock of his reappearance. 5. The reappearance of Ty Borden in Heartland Season 19, Episode 1, immediately throws up a multitude of unanswered questions stemming from the shocking and unforeseen nature of his return. For years, both the characters within the show and the audience operated under the assumption that Ty's story had concluded tragically, with his death serving as a pivotal emotional moment for the series. Other characters, including Jack and Lou, spent years processing his death and trying to rebuild their lives in his absence, alongside Amy, the love of his life. The possibility that he could return seemingly healthy forces everyone to reevaluate the narrative surrounding Ty's death and its aftermath. The first, most glaring question is, how did Ty survive? This is crucial because his death was portrayed as sudden and seemingly conclusive. He was shot during a traumatic incident while attempting to save a wild horse. His passing devastated Amy, and the notion that he could have survived such a life-threatening injury seems almost unbelievable. The suspense is amplified because the show doesn't immediately explain how Ty endured. Did he somehow cheat death and manage to recover alone? Was he rescued by an unknown party after the incident? Or was there some miraculous intervention that allowed him to survive? These are the central mysteries viewers must grapple with as they follow the unfolding story of Ty's return. The answer to how he survived will likely shape the rest of the season and the dynamics between the characters, particularly Amy, as they process this new reality. Equally critical is the question of why he left in the first place. Even if he survived, the fact that he remained out of contact for such a long period is deeply troubling. The characters, especially Amy, would understandably demand to know why he didn't return sooner. A significant emotional question revolves around his prolonged disappearance, particularly given the trauma associated with his injury. Did Ty stay away to protect his family from further pain? Or was there another compelling reason that forced him to sever all ties? Perhaps circumstances in his life made him feel unable to return. Or maybe the events leading to his departure left him with physical and mental scars that needed healing before he could face his loved ones. Did he require time to recover physically or emotionally? Understanding Ty's emotional journey and motivations requires answers and questions. His reasons for leaving and staying silent will be vital to comprehending his character arc in this new chapter. Closely related is the question, why didn't he contact Amy or anyone else? Amy's reaction upon seeing Ty alive is undoubtedly a mix of joy, confusion, hurt, and betrayal. Why did he not reach out, especially given their deep connection? The pain of losing him was compounded for Amy by the fact she had to rebuild her life without knowing the truth about his survival. Why didn't he let her know he was alive, even just to grant her some peace of mind? What specific experiences did he endure while away from Heartland? The years of silence strongly suggest he underwent something significant, potentially something that prevented his return or even communication. Did he face further physical hardships? Was he entangled in circumstances that made reconnection impossible? Perhaps he was grappling with his own trauma, struggling with guilt over his presumed death, or attempting to heal from deep emotional wounds. As the season progresses, Ty's mysterious absence will likely be explored, revealing more about his experiences and the factors shaping his decision to eventually return. Understanding Ty's journey during his absence is crucial for comprehending his return's impact on others and its place within the larger Heartland narrative. 6. A fundamental question that needs addressing is how the other characters will react to Ty's return. Amy's reaction is central, but the responses of others are equally important. Jack, Amy's grandfather, who is also deeply affected by Ty's passing, will have his own set of questions and emotions. Ty looked up to Jack as a father figure, and their bond was built on mutual love and respect. How will Jack process the sudden reappearance of the young man he considered gone forever? Amy's reaction, as discussed, will be complex. She spent years grieving and accepting the loss. Now she's faced with the unimaginable reality of his return. However, Ty's reappearance dredges up difficult questions about the past. Beyond rekindling their relationship, Amy must confront the emotions tied to a past she thought was settled. As a mother and a woman who built an independent life, she'll grapple with the pain of his absence and potential feelings of betrayal and abandonment stemming from his unexplained departure. She will need to navigate these intense feelings. This return isn't merely a reunion. It's a confrontation with grief, resentment, and confusion that have lingered beneath the surface for years. Perhaps even more significant than his return itself is the timing. Why has Ty chosen to come back to Heartland now? Did something specific in his life prompt a reconsideration of his decision to stay away? Is he finally ready to face the people he left behind after a journey of healing or self-discovery? And most poignantly, is his reappearance driven by a genuine desire to reconnect with his family and rebuild his life? Or are there deeper, more complicated reasons at play? These questions will heavily influence the show's emotional trajectory. As Ty's motivations become clearer, his decision to return at this specific moment will likely have far-reaching consequences for him and everyone around him. Beyond the emotional fallout, Heartland, both the family structure and the business, has undergone significant changes in Ty's absence. Amy had to adapt, take on new responsibilities, and raise Lindy alone. She learned to manage the ranch without her partner, and Ty's arrival after all these years will challenge much of that established dynamic. The family's dynamics will shift as Amy and Ty attempt to navigate their reunion. His return forces everyone involved to reassess their roles within the family structure. Can he simply step back into his old life, or will he find that things have altered so profoundly that reintegration proves more complex than anticipated? Ty's return carries profound emotional ramifications for Amy beyond the initial reunion. She has spent years reconstructing her life and learning to live without him. While his memory was always present, she grew as an individual, shouldering more responsibility not just as a mother, but as a leader within the family and at Heartland. The stability Amy worked so hard to achieve could be threatened by Ty's return. She had to accept his death and the reality of being a widow. Now she must confront what his physical return means for her identity. Does she still want the same life with him, or have her feelings evolved due to her personal growth and the passage of time? The emotional questions for Amy are deep and multifaceted as she is forced to reconcile her past with an unexpected present and reimagine her future with Ty potentially back in it. The concept of healing and closure is also central to the inquiry surrounding Ty's return. 7. One of the most challenging aspects of Ty's absence was the lack of closure. Amy never had the chance to say a proper goodbye, leaving a persistent wound. Ty's sudden return offers a potential path to healing those old wounds, but it also risks reopening them. Will his reappearance allow Amy to finally find closure, or will it further complicate her healing process? Her emotional journey will involve reconciling the past with the present and attempting to make sense of the lost years. She may need to find a way to forgive him for the pain caused by his absence, if not for herself, then for their daughter and family. Ty's return has repercussions beyond the personal and emotional, raising questions about the future of Heartland itself. Amy and Ty had built something together at the ranch, both professionally and personally. In his absence, Amy adapted and other family members stepped up. Ty's return necessitates navigating significant changes in both family dynamics and ranch management. What role will Ty play at Heartland moving forward? Can he resume his previous work? Or have things changed too much for a seamless reintegration into the ranch's daily operations? His reentry into the business side of Heartland will undoubtedly be complicated by the transformations that occurred while he was gone. Yet another crucial aspect is Ty's relationship with Lindy. She was very young when Ty left, and Amy raised her largely alone. Now older, Lindy will have her own complex reaction to meeting her father. The emotional dynamics between father and daughter as Lindy processes the return of a man known primarily through stories and memories will likely be one of the most touching storylines. Rebuilding the relationship between Ty and Lindy will require significant emotional effort as both adjust to the reality of their new life together. Ultimately, the reasons behind Ty's departure and his decision to return now will be central to Heartland's ongoing narrative. These questions will unfold throughout the season, adding deep emotional and narrative layers for the characters. The audience will embark on a journey exploring healing, forgiveness, and growth, not just for Ty, but for everyone impacted as his motives and the reasons for his long absence gradually come to light. The answers will shape the story's emotional trajectory and determine how the characters, especially Amy, can move forward into this unforeseen new chapter of their lives.